Hello, my name is Dmitry and I am a game designer at Unfrozen.
My name's Bart, and I'm one of your community managers here at Unfrozen. As we have previously mentioned, in order to make Olden Era match the quality that is expected of us, we have done a series of interviews with notable members from across the entire community. Today we are talking to Dredknight, an experienced member of Heroes 5 community, and one of the creators of Heroes 5.5 Overhaul mod, the biggest and most popular mod for Heroes in Might and Magic 5. Greetings Dredknight. Dmitry and I are very happy to have a chance to chat with you as a member of the Heroes 5.5 team. One of the goals we set up with our interviews was to connect with all kinds of Heroes players, from the hardcore competitive ones to those that master the game's map editors, and everyone else in between, which is exactly why we are here with you. Could you please introduce yourself to everyone and let us know how long you've been a part of Heroes 5 community?
First, thank you for having me. I've been part of the project for about 10 years, since the project inception. The project owner is called Magnum Magus. When he started the project, I was more of a playtester, and as the time progressed, I kind of felt the urge that there are things that can be improved and I can help with that. For the last 10 years, I've done things like from quality assurance to social media, reverse engineering, of course, participating in brainstorming ideas. The team is about 3 to 4 people, depending on activity. And as the time progressed, our wives developed, and we have less and less time to mod, but we have put it like an idea to, if we have time and if there are good ideas to be introduced, to do it no matter how much time is going to take. Yeah.
If I got this right, you have been together with Magno Magus from the beginning. You and Magno Magus were the two members that were like there all the time, right?
Yes.
How did it even start? Like, if you were to like pinpoint the year or something.
There is like a precursor project to 5.5 called Heroes 5 Role-Playing Edition. It was out 2009, 2009, and it was again made by Magnum Magus. And the idea was that when Heroes 5 was out, it only had one hero class perfection. So there was not like in Heroes 3 you have Might class and Magic class, and they are developed a little bit differently, but you only had only one class. So he tried to introduce the idea of triple class perfection in that project. So you have Might, you have Magic, and you have Balanced, which kind of have equal distribution of primary skills between attack, defense, spell power, and knowledge.
Kind of like in Heroes 7, right? Where you had those Might and Magic classes, and one was like focused on offense, one on defense, and then one was like in between, right? Something like this, but with Might and Magic instead, correct?
And there was a change also in the skill system, which the idea comes from Might and Magic Heroes 4, where you have like a primary skill and sub skills, which were the perks that you know in Heroes 5. But the difference was that the perks in the role-playing edition in 5.5, they are relevant, they are similar to the skill itself. For example, if you have attack skill, reinforce the attack in some way. And unlike in Heroes 5, where you have like a very complex mesh of perks that sometimes they don't, the next perk does not match very well the previous one. So sometimes it's like very chaotic build that you make just to get the best perk.
Am I correct to guess that this subclass system was something that Heroes 5.5 inherited in the end? So like one of the parts of its core design as well?
Basically, that's the core design, yes. Everything else kind of revolves around it.
Have you really expected your project to be such a success when you had started working on it?
To be honest, no. The initial idea was like, we started making it for ourselves and to just to improve our own gameplay, to our own experience. And as the time passed, we started to play less and to mod more. Mostly more watch Heroes than play Heroes. That's indeed how it is, if I exclude modding from that. We have received a lot of messages from people that casual players, they don't even have Discord, or they don't use any kind of significant like social media that, like ModDB, they don't use it. They just come, for example, to our Facebook page, drop a message like, thank you for this, we're playing with my wife for like 5 years. We didn't expect, but really gave us like the urge to continue do it whenever we can.
What do you feel altogether about the multiplayer? in Heroes 5. It got a lot of bad rep due to lack of maps, due to the pretty simplistic random generator, and altogether. What do you think could be done better, for example, in this game?
I think one of the major sell points was the improved random map generator. The original RMG is like very plain. There is not much difference between the areas you visit, and they are like very inconsistent. Where in 5.5 we made like a different, like the engine allows that. What was made was there are multi-layered areas. You have like an area for starter, you have area for advanced exploration, and you have like an epic area where, for example, there are no towns, but there is like a significant amount of treasuries and challenging battles. And if you take those three type of areas, you can make multiple templates based on how you transition from the initial area. Maybe you have like 2 advanced areas on the side with just towns, so you can have 3 towns and make your army stronger, different templates to experience. It also make different heroes be more lucrative. Like for example, heroes that generate resources may not be that popular in templates like Jebus, because Jebus is a rich template by itself, but can be like a really good pick for template like Belt, which is scarce on resources.
Do I understand correctly that people really liked this template system a lot, and that's one of the big reasons why people played Heroes 5.5?
Indeed, and to that I can add also that the ability to generate extra large templates. I think the map in Heroes 5 in the initial release they were not really big compared to what you can get in Heroes 3. So this kind of high fantasy experience where you can have a really long game and get powered up and have a big army, it was like not really present in Heroes 5 on the maps you had, or the maps you can generate. And the advanced random map generator that we had with 5.5 really filled that gap for the single player experience.
But what about other games? Is there like any other game than the Heroes franchise that you have played? And if you did any of them like have features that you looked at and you were like, oh, I like it, I'll take it and like I'll put it into Heroes 5.5?
I actually played a lot of them, starting like after Heroes 3, Heroes 5, then I went to Heroes 2. But at some point I decided to experience like what did the franchise offer before, and how much different it was. So like 1 and 2 are pretty nice to go from start to end with the campaigns, just to experience a little bit of the custom game. I can't say like Heroes 3 kind of tops everything for Heroes 1 and 2, so I don't think there's like much to say of what you can get from those games that can be implemented. But other games in the franchise that I have played, and I think that they are quite overshadowed by Heroes 3 and Heroes 5, are like, I really enjoyed Heroes of Might and Magic Online. It was like a browser-based game, like a spin-off of the series. Not only the graphics, but also there were some quite innovative things in gameplay. Like for example, it was mostly tilted. The experience was mostly tilted towards role-playing. For the people that don't know the game, you start with one hero, and that hero has one town that is predefined, and you gain a little bit of army every day that you can purchase, and you use that army to fight. And it was mostly around the hero and how you develop that hero, and of course experience the campaign that it provides. And what I found, they had a little bit of games that were outside of the main game that I really enjoyed. And for example, one of the puzzle games was like you were collecting the obelisks, like same obelisks like in Heroes 3, and when you collected enough of them, the hero was sent to a special map, and that map was like a dungeon, and the hero was provided a completely different army, and he had to make choices while traveling through a dungeon. If he's going to go left, he's going to go right, and each decision was guarded by a creature. And so you had limited army. You need to make decision to progress through a dungeon, and if you reach the end of the dungeon, you fight a boss. And the boss was like some kind of big Hydra, for example, with a lot of HP and some surrounding army around it.
Have you like made that present in Heroes 5.5? Like, have you used that, or?
I think we have not used that. Like there's so much ideas and so much time and ways to implement them So this is something that we have not. I have thought of this like something that can be used for like a battle royale mode. You have a big map and you have like 8 to 10 players, and each of them has its own place. He starts with his own army, and everyone like play in simultaneous turns and try to reach the center.
On topic of that, I wanted to ask you some question about the modding in Heroes 5 actually, because it's really difficult to get much into the Heroes 5 in particular, as far as I know, because of the engine and it just not being suited too well for that. And from your own interactions with other fans of Heroes 5 that got into modding, or for example from your own experience, what would you say the biggest issues of this engine? What makes it so hard?
So it's very hard to answer this question because there are like a number of ways to mod the game. One is just to edit the configuration files, which allows you to mod like creature stats and to exchange skills. You can of course do different translations if you kind of add this to modding, because it's changeable. There's a global configuration file that allows changing various bonuses and global stats.
But in terms of more gameplay changes, I mean, that's like the biggest parts that Heroes 5.5, for example, is also well known for this role-playing system and all of that.
Yes, so you can add more classes, but you can only change things that are currently existing, and like you can change mostly values. You can't add new things. There is like the engine has like, besides the map editor, which is kind of similar to Heroes 3, it has like a UA framework. You can add functionality through coding. So for example, you can make creatures spawn on the map at specific events, or you can give heroes artifacts to, like for example, you can create a campaign, and in that campaign, if you defeat boss A, you can grant specific artifact as a prize to the player directly without putting it on the map. The UA framework is quite powerful, but it's very hard to debug because the map, if you do that in map editor crashes very often. After the first half an hour, pretty much anyone that used it starts swearing in the chat what happens and why my map is kind of going to a dustbin. But if you can go past that, this UA framework can, like, there's so much mods that and there's so much maps that create really unique experiences for the player. For example, there was like one member of the community that made a mod where you can upgrade artifacts. So you can get a few artifacts and you can have a custom message that says, do you want to upgrade the artifact, or you can make an upgrade system. It depends on how much how much effort you are willing to put and what ideas do you have.
So basically anything that's on the map, like interface, units, objects, terrain, that sort of thing, anything you can place on the map, anything that's like visible within the game, it would be perfect if you could mod it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's also be nice if the random map generator has a template, and that the variables that are used in the template to be like to be able to be configurable.
So you say that it would be great to have like a template editor or a basic version of it, so you could modify your own templates.
Yeah, there is a mod called NVS and another mod that's called Gems. They dedicated a lot of their time to make like visual items for the game, and they're very nice. But they replace existing things in the game. For example, if you create a new adventure map object, you need to give that object some kind of functionality, and you need to add it to the roster of elements that are rotated with the random map generator, and it's not possible except with reverse engineering.
Basically, Heroes 5 has a lot of different new features, a lot of changes from the previous Heroes. And I wanted to ask you about your overall impression. Like, you've known this game for a really long time. What do you actually think, in hindsight, what other changes were for the good and for the worse, for the better and for the worse?
The strongest fit of the game is the skill system. And there's one more thing that I think is not present in any of the previous games, is the way that the spell system allows you to... All spells in Heroes 5 can be boosted by spell power, which is something that was not... For example, in Heroes 3, when you cast Haste and when you cast Swap, it is only... The strength is based on the mastery level. And the Heroes 5 engine, it provides the ability to make all spells to scale with hero spell power, even though that is not how it was done in the original release. They had that ability, but for some reason they reverted a lot of those spells to work like in Heroes 3.
It may have been based on player feedback, considering that Heroes 5 was like one of the first Heroes games to have a bigger multiplayer and like online audience. So it may have been player based,
Yeah, I can agree with that. I wasn't there at the time, so I can't say, but it sounds really possible.
And do you think that there are some changes that actually made this game worse, that were not fixed over the years?
I think that the way the games were released back then, they didn't have so much like feedback from the players in terms of what we can collect today from the players. Like we have Discord, we can jump in and talk so much with developers or with other people in community. And at the time, that was not really possible. Like the game has like 2 expansions, which quite improved the game a lot. But compared to today's standards, and if you're like a competitive person and you go into the game, you can see a lot of caveats in balance. You can find that issue with the size of the map that is just not big enough, even though it was 2 expansions that have came since the beginning, and the biggest map that was present was still not comparable to Heroes 3.
In Heroes 5.5, you have added the skill wheel as a part of the game, so it's no longer necessary to go to Google and look for the skill wheel in Heroes. Something that I remember doing a lot back then. Do you think that having features like that, like the skill wheel in Heroes 5.5, has a heavy impact on how people perceive the game's balance or how accessible the game is to a new player?
Any feature that removes unwanted bureaucracy is well welcomed. And like what you said about the skill wheel, I think so. It's one of the features because it allows you like to point forward. Maybe even without it, the game can be played. But when you have it, and when you can look at it, you can plan your progress forward. And we have found that that's really, really enjoyable for players. Indeed, one of the biggest changes in the UI that happened lately was, when you go in combat and when you right-click on a creature, when you double right click, you can see what kind of effects are applied on it. It didn't work for many like effects that are based on. It worked for effects that are like spell based, but effects that are caused by perks or skills, not always. For example, if you have there is a perk that lowers enemy work by 1, you can't see the effect of this perk. You see that the work is 1 lower, but you don't see the effect. Now we introduced effects for pretty much every single perk.
And were there any features that you wanted to add, for example, but you couldn't due to the limitations of the engine?
We can make a completely another meeting just for that. I'll just mention a few things that come to my mind. Is like I would like to see the combat field is like more dynamic by itself. If you see it in King's Bounty, you go into combat and sometimes in combat you have like a space where lightning hits or there's some kind of object that around it, if creature goes, there's some kind of damage that it receives, or it just slows down, or there is like a stone of healing. If creature resists to the stone, it gets healed every time.
So like more outside effects that change the battles you play. They're not the same.
Yeah, like random battle features, basically.
Yeah, they may not be random.
Well, random in a sense that you cannot like 100% expect them to happen, but they exist and you can manipulate them, basically.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw a joke because the word random is like the most hated word by the PvP community because it's something you cannot predict. But for example, if you have some kind of weeks of snow or weeks of sunfire or something like that, that the effects of the week can apply into combat in some way. That manifests in some conjuration of object that do something. Yeah, things that I would like to see is like more to see some action on the adventure map and in combat map. For example, on adventure map, maybe there is like a river crossing, and you can build a bridge on it, or you can ruin a bridge, so that creates different attack vectors in multiplayer.
So it's more about the variety of actions you can do on the map or in the battlefield.
I think those are areas that are very unexplored in franchise. They've been pretty similar in every game.
To be honest, in Heroes 3, the global map is basically uninteractive, other than you just collect resources and visit this stuff.
A little bit of a side question to the topic of tournaments, because you said, like you said, you guys are primarily focusing on development. I'm kind of wondering if you had a chance, if it was possible for you to add an automated tournament system, something that's, for example, present in Warcraft 3, where you can participate in an automated tournament and the rewards also like automated as well, like for example rank icons or something. If there was a system like that you could implement, would you do it?
It depends if there is like the need for that. I don't mind it, and it helps solve a lot of bureaucracy, so I think it's a good thing. If there is a community for that, if there is like the PvP community for holding like big tournaments, I think it sounds great, and I don't mind it. It's something that we will enjoy having. It will take a lot of bureaucracy out of our hands because it's going to happen automatically. I don't see anything negative in that. I see only positive impact on the community.
And in terms of any other planned features, do you have some? Maybe something that you're going to implement?
We have that kind of mindset that we don't say, if anybody asks us when is the next release and what is the next release, we say never and nothing. Because it's better to surprise people than to say something to under deliver. As this is like I can say a side job, a hobby, like timelines are a little bit messed up. So one thing that I can say for sure is there's one person that is doing a big favor for the community, and this is he's called Madjar, and Madjar is doing what is already like it's a Heroes 5 lobby, and it's not just Heroes 5 5.5, but it's a lobby that when the idea is like the lobby when a person joins in it, he'll be able to download any mod that is Heroes 5 based, enjoy it, and even probably in the future play a ladder that is on that, and he's really doing an amazing job on that. He makes the experience looks like Steam, so you basically have even integrated multiplayer connection inside, so you don't need to do any VPN and so on. And
yeah, that's what I wanted to say. That's like he's making a hub for the game, like it is in Heroes 3, for example.
So essentially, if you were to like work on a Heroes game that was not Heroes 5, having this sort of like let's call it a mod manager would be something you would be keen on seeing, basically, right?
Yeah, it is present in Heroes 3 era, I think. Yes, where you can you have such mod manager, you can download anything that solves undesired bureaucracy. It's really welcome. So whatever shortens the time to get into the good experience, I can approve of that.
One more question that I've got for you here is, as well, obviously you work on your own project, and from time to time you play your own project if you get a chance. Well, we know how it goes, usually there's no chance. But what about other projects or like other bigger mods in the Heroes 5 scene? Do you know any of them? And if you do, is there like anything you can tell us about them? Is there like anything similar in terms of like scope or content that matches what Heroes 5.5 does?
Yeah, I can say about that. Boy, I just hope I don't forget something major, but the two like most prevalent, at least for me, maybe not in scope but in community size. It is one of them is Heroes 5. It's Random Tactical Arena (RTA). It is duel. It's a mod that is only revolves around duels. So you just jump in the game, choose a hero, buy artifacts, buy the hero has specific experience and level, so you just gain the skills you want and you just jump in combat. That kind of duel kind of mod. And I would say that it is technically it's one of the most cutting edge in terms of things that they have implemented. I really enjoy the fine touch that they have in the additions. Another mod that is pretty big is Heroes 5 Universe. It aims to deliver similar experience to in scope to 5.5, but its core values are mostly around. They want to keep the original Heroes 5 experience. If in Heroes 5.5 we aim to expand it and to change the things to add new gameplay and new features, they just try to improve what already is in the game to keep the way like the skill system the same and the way the hero class distribution is the same again, one class perfection. So they are more of how do you call it? They're like sticking to vanilla, and they are really good in what they do.
So the question I would like to ask here is if you had like any piece of advice, so like if there's like something you think we could do in terms of features that would attract people to enjoy the gameplay that's similar in Heroes 5.5, what exactly would you suggest we should add? What do you think draws people the most in Heroes 5.5? Like the one or the two, you know, things that are like the ultimate essence of 5.5.
Is the skill system and the random map generator. Like, I want to put it that simple. And that is for the gameplay and for the experience. I say put your foot on the pedal to make an amazing campaign. The biggest cut of the players are actually not active on Discord. There are people, as I said, that they're casual players and really enjoy playing custom maps, custom campaigns, regional campaigns, and that is something that one cannot see in Discord, because in Discord are people that are initiative, active, and want to participate. And that is really a very small portion of the community, so make a good, I would really appreciate a good campaign that people can enjoy. One campaign with interesting twists.
So long, fascinating story on the side of like PvE, a good map generator for custom games, and a fascinating skill wheel, so you want to like play different heroes basically.
Yeah, and one more thing I can add is the ability to give the community the ability to create their own campaigns and custom maps. That is going to be like, the easier it is for the people to do it, the more content there will be created and for the people to enjoy.
There's one final question from me, and it's regarding Heroes 5 in general. How do you think it matches up against Heroes 3 when it comes to popularity? Because why I'm asking, when you look at, for example, StarCraft and Warcraft, two games within the same genre, they're both RTS games with a different theme, but they both cohabit in the same space. They both compete for the same kind of players, for players that like real-time strategy with good tempo. And so my question is, do you believe that maybe at some point in the future there will be this like breaking moment where the community of Heroes 3 and Heroes 5 will be able to like coexist together and like host things together? Do you think something like that could happen?
It is more like not Warcraft and Starcraft, but more like Starcraft and Starcraft 2. I think even now we kind of coexist together. Why not? It's like Heroes 3 communities, the biggest it has ever been. And I can say the same for Heroes 5 community, even though in smaller scale. People not only like players, but only like modders. Like, I can put my word on it that each year, the last 5 years, I see more and more active mods for Heroes 5. Like, even that the game is 20 years old, like not just the player base, but the modding community is expanding. So I'm pretty happy that just that game is getting more flavored. Yeah, there's something for everybody. It's great experience for those that played, just as for those that created. So it's a win-win. And I don't see any issue with adding one more player in the face of olden era. I think what we're going to get is going to further spice up this ice cream.
And do you think that in some future maybe those communities could unite in some way, or they're just different people that like different games?
Maybe somebody can say like Golden Era is going to be out soon, not soon, but in a year, and that's going to get people from other mods. And I don't see that as a problem, actually, because like I'm in my 30s, like how much more I'm going to be able to do that. And what people do not understand about modding and having a mod that is popular is like, if when you start modding, you do it because you want to do something for you. But when the mod grows bigger, it becomes a responsibility because you do it for other people. At some point, you may have other things you want to do in life and put that thing aside. So it's like Olden Era can be, I look at it like it pulls some responsibility from me and from Heroes 3 as well. So I see it like a good player in the community.
But on that note, I think it's best we finish our interview. Thank you for your time, Dredknight. I hope you enjoyed our time spent here.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you, and see you around too.